It's the PHNX Cardinals post-game show, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined on this post-game show. Brittan Golden, former Arizona Cardinal wide receiver. Hit that like button. Damon Dog behind the mic. We're going to be joined in a few minutes by our friends at State Farm Stadium. Bo Brack, of course, Craig Morgan, as the Arizona Cardinals, Brittan, dropped their preseason opener to the visiting New Orleans Saints 16-14 in front of a capacity crowd in Glendale. A lot of takeaways in this game. Plenty of good to talk about, and then some not so good.
There's a lot of not so good. I think we talked about it at halftime, though. I think Clayton Tune came in and he did what he was supposed to do. He led the team down, had a couple scoring drives go through, and, I mean, he put himself up on the board a little bit higher than what he was on before the game started.
Yeah, we mentioned this in our halftime show, but, I mean, the New Orleans Saints opted to play their starters for the large majority of the first quarter. The Cardinals played no starters in this game, outside of, a couple rookies thrown in there, like, I don't know, Marvin Harrison Jr. We'll talk about him later in the show, but for the most part, unless you're in your rookie season and you're a starter, you're not playing in this game. That impacted the Cardinals because we were talking about it, damn near toward the end of the game in the fourth quarter. Cameron Thomas, Victor Dimukeje, those guys started the game. They were out there in the fourth quarter. So whether or not that bodes well for them, that remains to be seen. But listen, I think the Cardinals defensively, even though they gave up that game-winning field goal to end the game, I thought you got enough good from this defense led by Darius Robinson and company. You should be greatly encouraged. We know this offense it goes and stops with Kyler Murray. And, to a lesser extent, Trey McBride, James Conner. None of those players played today. I mean, hell, you got Derek Carr out there and their first-team offense with Chris Olave not putting points on the board. And for the most part, it was big number 56 penetrating the Saints' offensive line. While we're disappointed with the end result, you always want to try to win games, albeit in the preseason. I mean, the Cardinals with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Darius Robinson, after missing on so many first-round picks under Steve Keim, dare I say they went 2 for 2 already in this draft?
I mean, we saw it from Darius Robinson today. Yeah. Obviously, we didn't get much out of Marv, which I honestly said it before the game started. I didn't expect. I knew Marv was going to go out there, and I told you exactly what happened. They're going to run 3-run plays. He's going to go out there for a series and be off. It's a waste of time. But you got what you wanted out of Darius Robinson tonight.
Yeah.
He made a name. He went out there. He just big-bodied everybody he played against and made him look small.
Yeah.
So he did what you wanted to see, and you've got a lot of positives. And really, it just kind of shows, like, you're going to have a little bit of depth on your defense this year.
Yeah.
Because all we saw were twos outside of Robinson.
Yeah,
So
it's encouraging when, Dante Stills, who played in this game, was like your best defensive tackle last year. And now he's a rotational piece as a defensive lineman. We're going to talk about Taylor-Demerson. We're going to talk about Owen Papo, Xavier Thomas. I think the most encouraging thing that I can say about this defense is you feel Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rollis' fingerprints all over it. They can deploy a bunch of different looks. They get a lot of guys snaps. They're not solely dependent on any singular player. So while I'm still very skeptical about the pass rush situation and what they should opt to do at outside linebacker, I mean, you'd be lying to yourself. Even with guys like Max Melton and Garrett Williams not playing because of injury, this defense is going to be much improved in 2024.
Much improved. And it's almost kind of encouraging, and it's exciting to see what's going to happen when you get that actual starting defensive line and starting linebacking crew out there and with Darius Robinson in the mix. Because, I mean, goodness, even the DBs today, even the twos and the threes, the DBs all played really well today.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's encouraging to know, like I said, that there's depth back here, right? You've got depth in the defensive back room now. You've got depth in the linebacker room now, in the defensive line room. It's looking really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack Smith in the chat echoing that defensive backs look good. Drop a like on this video, by the way. Let's get this post-game show on the right track with, let's call it 350 likes. That'd be great for your boys here. Again, hoping to hear from Bo Brock, Craig Morgan at State Farm Stadium, Jonathan Gannon meeting with the media here momentarily. Hopefully the Cardinals got through this preseason game, sans any injuries here. And again, I start with the defense because anytime you can hold an opposing offense that opts to start their first team quarterback to no points, and then Derek Carr's second possession, they went 3 and out.
3 and out.
And at no point did it look like Derek Carr was comfortable. And you could say, yeah, it's a byproduct of how average to below average the Saints may be. But I mean, like when I saw what the Cardinals were doing to the Saints starting offensive line, very encouraging. Now on the flip side, I think the Cardinals with their second and third team offensive line, you know, going up against the likes of Chase Young, I'm not making excuses for anybody, but you'd be lying to yourself if you don't think Desmond Ridder was impacted by going against the Saints starters. I mean, hell, he went against the Saints starters last year as the starter for the Atlanta Falcons. So as much good as there was defensively, I think the Cardinals, I don't really know if they know what they have yet with some of these second team guys offensively.
I mean, offensive line did not look good today.
No.
I mean, you got to understand, like we dogged a little bit on Desmond Ridder on halftime, but he was under pressure constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, he snapped the ball and there was somebody in his face. So of course, I don't care how good you are, there's going to be a little bit of panic in your eyes every time you snap the ball, which is going to in turn lead to bad throws. But I mean, you're gonna have to do something with your depth in the offensive line, because if that's the product that you're gonna put out, I don't feel comfortable with Kyler Murray being in the game.
Well, and again, like I think the two third round offensive linemen, Tip Reiman and Isaiah Adams from Illinois, look like rookies. And again, that's to be expected. I think anybody that assumed that they were going to leapfrog any singular player, whether it's Elijah Higgins or Evan Brown or John Gaines, like it's a steep jump from the Big Ten and a program like Illinois to the NFL. And we saw that. The Cardinals are going to start a bunch of veterans on their offensive line. It just shows you how special of a player Paris Johnson Jr. was last year, being able to play at such a high level as a rookie, albeit he went to Ohio State. So that unit needs to be remolded. I thought Christian Jones, the 5th round rookie out of Texas, looked good. Yeah. Elijah Wilkinson, I don't want him anywhere near this team as an offensive tackle. He played guard for this team last year. He was average to below average. Thought he played better down the stretch, but him at tackle, especially against Chase Young, that was an ugly mismatch, Brittan.
It was not good. I mean, I felt like Chase Young was in the backfield every play at tackle. It wasn't, maybe it's just the left tackle position is not for him. Yeah. But I mean, that's not a place that you want to see him. Not with your star quarterback when the season starts. That's not, I mean, obviously you've got time. It's still preseason. You can still find something, but that's not exciting to think about.
No, absolutely. What is exciting, these super chats to kick off this post-game show, and we're going to tell you who our player of the game is here momentarily. Let's get to Corey and Lindsay, 199. Michael Carter has a special place in my heart. Hashtag hold the line. Absolutely. Michael Carter was fantastic. We're going to break down him in a little bit more detail as the show progresses, Corey and Lindsay. But Michael Carter, RB2 last year for this team. The Cardinals came out, their first depth chart of the preseason had Michael Carter as RB5 behind guys like DJ Dallas, behind DeMercado, behind Trey Benson, and of course behind James Conner. But then Jonathan Gannon came out and said, I wouldn't worry about the depth chart. And I wonder if that's in reflection of guys like Michael Carter, because again, you watch him today, and I echo this on every show we do. If he gets released tomorrow, and I'm not saying he's going to, there are multiple teams that will put in waiver claims on Michael Carter Jr.
immediately. Now, the first week of the preseason, that depth chart, it means nothing.
Yeah.
That means that's just a depth chart because the coaches, and they've got to put one out, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really reflect outside of your number one starters, right? Your first team group on offense and defense, yes, they're going to be at the top. But if we're looking and we're talking about depth chart for everybody, I'm not playing into Michael Carter being RB5, because clearly he was RB2. When he got to Arizona last year, he made an immediate impact and finished the season on a very strong note. And then he just picked up where he left off today. So, I mean, Michael Carter being RB5, I don't think you play into that. I think he's still RB2, RB3, however you want to look at it, with Trey Benson being in the mix now. But I mean, he's going to get a lot of playing time in this offense.
He should, because he's a guy that can create space and separation in the open field. Like, I thought Trey Benson was let's just say a victim to some degree of the offensive line play.
Yeah, agreed.
Like 2.6 yards per carry for Trey Benson. That's not who he is. We've seen him at training camp, at practice. We saw him in the ACC. He was a burner at Florida State. I'm not willing to judge Trey Benson when he's going up against Chase Young in the starting D-line, when he's, you know, the 5 offensive linemen that the Cardinals were trotting out there. None of those guys are starting for the Cardinals. With that being said, like, Michael Carter looked better tonight in the open field. That's why he is our player of the game here on our first post-game show of 2024. Michael Carter, 7 carries, 41 yards, and a touchdown. And again, it wasn't just the stats. It was how he looked running the football. Of course, had the Cardinals' first touchdown of this game, but open field cuts, his shiftiness, it was just very much a byproduct, Brittan, of what we saw last year. You talk about a guy last year with the Arizona Cardinals in key games against Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. As a Cardinal, he averaged 6.2, 6.3 yards per carry. And then ho-hum tonight, 5.9 yards per touch. I feel like it would be roster malpracticed to make this guy available for teams like Dallas, who have no depth at the position. Carolina's looking for running backs. I just feel like even if you think DeMercado is a great player, a great story, and you want to have him a part of your team, then I think what we saw tonight, you need to bite the bullet and figure out what you're doing with, like, DJ Dallas, who, by the way, did not look great, especially returning the football tonight.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for big returns with the punt return, but I mean, it just, at the same time, I think we've gotten used to looking at Greg Dortch back there returning punts. And I mean, Dallas did a great job in Seattle in the return game. So, you know, it could just be preseason and we're looking at it like this. But I agree with you on the thing. I don't think that Michael Carter is anybody that you're looking at on the chopping block, because the minute he goes on waivers, he's claimed.
He's gone.
Like, he's gone immediately. There's no way he clears waivers and there's an opportunity for you to bring him back. So I think he's a part of this team. He, like you said, let's call it an even 6 yards a carry. I mean, he was a yard away from it being 6 yards per carry tonight with a second-team offensive line that didn't look amazing today. So, I mean, a lot of it is a credit to his vision, a credit to how well he plays the game of football. And, you know, it's somebody that you want in your backfield, you know, all season long. Yeah,
and we don't know the status of DeMercado, his shoulder injury, although Jonathan Gannon said it wasn't serious, but he didn't play tonight. I mean, and every time, and this isn't the end-all be-all, but, like, every time I'm at training camp and I watch the running backs, because the way they have us situated, the media, when you're at training camp, you're on a specific side of the end zone, or excuse me, the side of the home visiting side. And that's where the running backs work out. So we get an up-close and personal view at that position group. And James Conner leads that position group, rightfully so. He's always the first player in line. Second line is always Michael Carter Jr. And I think it would be bad for team morale, frankly, when you look at a guy that came in and was productive and helped you win games. Make no mistake, the comeback against Philadelphia last year was spearheaded by him and his touchdown catch from Kyler Murray. The acceleration, the burst in the open field, the shiftiness. He's 25 years old, was a mid-round pick out of UNC. Like, I'm a Trey Benson fan. I think he's going to have his time to shine as RB1 for this team eventually, maybe as soon as next year. But that doesn't mean that you make a guy like Michael Carter Jr. just based on the fact that you didn't draft him, he's in a contract year. You don't make him available for other teams. You don't help another team by cutting a player his caliber.
No, and you're not. And, like, you know, I've said it already. I just don't think that that's even a question right now, unless something detrimental happens and he just completely just does terrible the rest of the way through here, which I just don't see that happening. That's not even a question that is up in the air. Carter's here. He's going to make plays, and he's going to do what he did at the end of the season last year for us, and he's going to continue to help this football team.
Not a question of whether or not they should keep Michael Carter in these co-hosts' eyes. What should they do at QB2? We mentioned Desmond Ridder was not good in this game. You look at his numbers, 4 for 9, just 43 yards passing, 59 QB rating, under 5 yards per completion. Dare I say, Colt McCoy-esque in this game. Now, he does have the mobility, and it was on full display, and he was playing with let's just call it a lackluster offensive line against the Saints ones. But missing that throw at the end of the half that would have won you this game to the dump off to Andre Bocellia. And then the fact that the homegrown product, Clayton Tune, comes out and was he perfect? No, but much more efficient. 15 for 24, 163 and a touchdown, 96.4 passer rating for Clayton Tune, including what could have been the game-winning touchdown to Tony Jones Jr. Had a couple nice throws to Tajon Palmer, one down the sideline, Brittan, that should have been caught. And I think about this, like we're talking about the Cardinals maybe parting ways foolishly with Michael Carter Jr. because he's not DeMercado. He wasn't a found asset by this team. He's not homegrown, which I think would be a mistake. Couldn't we use that same logic on the flip side then with Clayton Tune? Like, listen, I think Clayton Tune has limitations. I think he's got a long way to go. He's a raw player. But there's no question who's got the better arm between Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder. And I saw Desmond Ridder perform tonight, and I had PTSD of too many games with the Atlanta Falcons last year, Brittan Golden.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the mobility with Desmond Ridder is a plus, right?
Yeah.
You know, if he can get out of the pocket and he has to scramble and move around and run, run the ball, he can do that. He's got a good stride. He runs the ball well. He carries the ball well. But you're here to play quarterback.
Yeah.
If you can't make the simple 5-yard throws on a 5-yard drag to score a touchdown and win this game, right? That ball goes in the end zone before halftime, you win. It's 21-16 is the final of this game.
Yep.
It's granted, we already talked about it. The offensive line was terrible for him. Yes, he was moving and having to get in and out of the pocket and do things, and he was discombobulated so many times, but under pressure, that's a play and a throw that you have to make.
Absolutely.
And Tune came out in the second half and he made those. He was under pressure too, but he stepped up. He made throws. Like you said, to that ball that Palmer dropped on the sideline, that was probably arguably the best throw Tune made tonight.
Maybe of his career.
I mean, it was perfect. Outside shoulder fade over the DB. Only receiver's got to make that play, and he drops the ball. So, I mean, Tune looked really well tonight. I mean, and he's got to keep that up throughout the preseason. And, it's also the preseason, right?
Yeah.
Tune looked good last year in the preseason.
Yeah, he did.
At times, I should say. He looked good last year at times, but, he got his opportunity. And he kind of got thrown into the fire against Cleveland last year. It was a tough one. But, it's not what you wanted to see. But I think if he can keep this on and show that he can make these throws and handle the pressure, I think QB2 stays with Tune.
There's an option. And as Diehard Jessica says in the chat, like, can he do anything with this? Can Desmond Ridder hold him off? And I think if you're asking me my opinion right now, and again, they're going to have joint practices. The Cardinals are headed in Indianapolis early next week to do joint practices with Jonathan Gannon's former team. And Kyler Murray's going to be participating, obviously, but a lot is going to be said. Live bullets from Indianapolis, who, I mean, they got some fine defensive players. But at what point, if you're Jonathan Gannon, do you just say, hey, you know what? We're going to let Clayton Tune start next Saturday against Indy at, Lucas Oil Stadium. We know Kyler Murray's not playing in that game. Maybe let Clayton Tune go out there with what is the better offensive line at that point, the better receivers. You're going to play with Chris Moore. You're going to play with Zach Pascal. You're going to play with Tip Reiman, right? I wouldn't be opposed to that. And then say, hey, Desmond, you know what? Get Spencer Rattler's playing in the fourth quarter of a preseason game. Why don't you go out there and compete in the fourth quarter and see if you can put up gaudy numbers? Because again, like, Tune's going to make mistakes, but at least you have the ceiling with the arm talent. Like, I need to see a ceiling with Desmond Ridder, because right now the short intermediate throws, those have to be the layup throws if you're going to be Kyler Murray's backup.
I mean, and I think the preseason is the time where you do switch this up, right?
Yeah.
You got two guys vying for the quarterback 2 position right now. Desmond Ridder started week 1. I don't see why Clayton Tune doesn't get the nod in week 2, right? He had a better game today.
Yep.
And I mean, why not? You can literally flip the script. Tune can go the first half this next week. Ridder can finish with the second half. And like you said, can Ridder go out there against the 2s and the 3s and the 4s in the third and fourth quarter and play well? Can he make the throws? Can he handle the pressure? Can he lead the team down the field and score? And if he can do that and prove that, then now you actually have a quarterback battle. But if he can't, and Clayton Tune comes out and plays identical to what he did tonight, then, I mean, I think he just completely separates himself and takes the position now.
Desmond Ridder can't do the bare minimum and win this job, in my opinion. Like, Rondell Moore is injured. He's out for the year. So by default, fair or not, you've already won that trade with Atlanta, even if you opt to cut Desmond Ridder at the end of this preseason. But maybe this competition is just what Clayton Tune needed to be able to say, you know what? I have the better arm talent. I'm going to show my mobility a little bit, and I'm going to put our team in a position to score points in the preseason. But again, I think, like, we know if Kyler Murray goes down for an extended period of time, like most NFL teams, like the Cardinals are in trouble. They're in big trouble. That's why it's apparent that they need to keep him healthy. We're going to talk about some young players that really shine for the Arizona Cardinals in our counting card segment in just a little bit, as well as hopefully hear from Brack and Craig Morgan live from State Farm Stadium. But first, I want to tell you about our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass. If you weren't out, first of all, last year for our watch parties, and especially for our NFL draft party, our watch along this year and our draft party extravaganza, you are missing out. Gila River Resorts and Casinos, nobody does it better. They've got phenomenal food, great vibes. The casino, and a lot of times you think of a casino, Brittan, and you're like, you know what? Not the cleanest place. I'm going to tell you right now, it's the cleanest casino I've ever been to.
Beautiful place.
It's got great vibes. I love the fact they let you do at the sports book, which is the largest sports book in Arizona, by the way. Go get your hard copy ticket. And we're going to be spending a lot of time at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass this fall. We got more information incoming. But you talk about state-of-the-art. They got 800 slot machines, 15 blackjack tables, live table games, and more. It's a place where, again, we got a bunch of stuff coming up with our friends at Gila River. I can't wait to tell you about it. But in the meantime, you're thinking about, okay, I want to plan a trip. I want to plan a weekend. I don't want to leave the great state of Arizona. Head out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass in Phoenix. The poolside scene is fantastic. Multiple restaurants. Grab a cocktail, sit by the pool, check out their Prime Shula Steakhouse. Fantastic food. You know I love me a good steak, Brittan Golden. But
just
check,
about 3/4.
That's
of it,
right.
baby.
I'm not gonna. Maybe I'll take it to go. But again, I'm gonna take it with me regardless. Head to Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Let them show you what next level is all about. And speaking of next level, I mean, Damon Dog, Sanderson Ford, the job they're doing out in the West Valley, hooking people up with their dream vehicles. It's safe to say one of our favorite new partners, Damon Dog.
It is, and we made our way out to Sanderson Ford last week. Me, Bo, the rest of the crew, we went out there, and we're already talking cars with our friends over at Sanderson Ford. Bo and I have plans to pick up a vehicle next Friday to drive it over the weekend. That's just the kind of deal in service that you guys get at Sanderson Ford.
What vehicle, by the way, are you looking at?
I'm looking at a Big Ben Bronco.
Oh, man.
And Bo, of course, truck guy, looking at an F-150. That's Johnny, of course, you're looking at an F-250.
I am. I'm looking at the F-1050.
Tell him I'll take that 350.
All right,
man.
Britton's one up in all of them. He wants to be the biggest truck guy on the podcast.
Believe it. Better believe it.
Hey, Sanderson Ford has it all. So
they do.
Make your way over there to Glendale. They have a great little diner, Johnny. We tried this diner that they have out there on their campus.
Are you kidding me?
I swear to God, it was like we got $6 hamburgers. It was like we were back in the 80s again.
Oh, man.
Everything about Sanderson Ford, incredible. Nice people. They treat you like family. If you need a car, you need a vehicle, make sure you guys go to Sanderson Ford.
Yeah, 0% for 36 months financing. See the dealer for more details. And again, just, great vibes out there. 90 days on your Ford F-150 with that 0% financing for 36 months. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, do yourself a favor. Check them out, Sanderson Ford. Check us out here on the postgame show. Creeping up toward 100 likes. Let's get that to 350 by the time this podcast is over. And speaking of this podcast, follow us. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're locked in for the regular season now as the preseason continues on. Brittan Golden, Johnny Venerable, hoping to hear from Brack at State Farm Stadium in just a little bit. Jonathan Gannon meeting with the media, and hopefully Brittan Golden talking about some of his young Cardinal playmakers. I thought if Darius Robinson is getting the headlines, because he should, he's a first-round pick, I thought the sub-bullet for this game is the play of first and second year defenders for Jonathan Gannon, and that gets us into counting cards here on PHNX Cardinals. Who stood out? How about a couple of key defenders, starting with Owen Papo, 4 tackles all over the place. The second-year linebacker out of the SEC, who really didn't play much last year, basically redshirted, was behind a couple guys, veterans, of course, Kazir White, Josh Woods, Chris Barnes. Came out, was a freight train from hell, was Owen Papo. Looked fantastic, especially in run support. Flying all over the field was number 44, Brittan Golden.
Agreed. I thought Papo played really, really well, especially in the first half today. He was flying around the field. He was making tackles. I mean, it was what you wanted to see from a depth player at your linebacker position. He played tremendously well, as did, your backup safety with Demerson. I think there was a lot of Budda Baker qualities.
That's an interesting comp because, and again, I'm not jumping conclusions here. Taylor Demerson was a lightning rod for this defense at the end of the first half. Helped this defense after that big play, which I think was a kind of a missed assignment. A young player getting lost in the open field a little bit. The run support that you saw from Taylor Demerson, I'm not jumping to conclusions. It's one preseason game. Budda Baker's in a contract year. Budda Baker is going to be 30 years old pretty soon. You know Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenford. Gannon is a DB safety savant himself, and Monty Ossenford doesn't want to pay safeties. So I've been on the record many, many times, Brittan Golden. I think this is Budda Baker's last year with the Arizona Cardinals. They used a premium pick, top of the fourth round's a premium pick, in my opinion, on Taylor Demerson. If he continues to make strides, yes, he is the rabbit, Jack Smith, and then you have Jalen Thompson in the fold making decent money, like that's going to be an interesting decision for the Arizona Cardinals because you are lying to yourself if this is not a year-long audition for Taylor Demerson to be the heir apparent to Budda Baker.
You don't want to think about it because you would love to see Budda Baker retire as a Cardinal with all the good he's done and the play that he's given this team.
But does it ever work? Unless you're Larry Fitzgerald.
I mean, it's the part of the business. It's part of the business. I would love to see Budda retire, but Taylor Demerson put on display, especially in this first preseason game.
Yeah.
That he can get the job done. Like you said, I think this is a year-long interview for him.
I
think if he can go out there, he's going to get playing time. He's going to get a lot of playing time this year.
Yep.
Right? So I think when he's in the game, if he can continue to make these plays and continue to progress, I mean, like I said, he flew around the football today.
Yeah.
I mean, he was out there. He was sticking his head into things. He was just with no regard. Like, I'm trying to break the ball. I'm trying to break up passes. I'm trying to knock that ball loose. Every time I hit you, I want you to know that I'm here. I think that is exactly what you want to see from a backup safety that, like you said, could potentially replace if it doesn't go the way and they don't want to pay it and it goes, and like you said, Budda's going to be 30. The business is, it sucks. The business is the business, man. But I think that you've got something in the works right here that could work out for you.
Budda Baker is the second highest cap hit for the Arizona Cardinals this year. Kyler Murray's number one at $49 million. Budda Baker making $19 million. Number three, your other safety, Jalen Thompson at $12 million. Next year, Jalen Thompson jumps up to $13.7 million. I don't think this team has an appetite to pay two safeties long-term, especially like we know they need edge rushers, right? We know they could use more help on the interior offensive line. The Cardinals are going to extend players. They're going to have needs. This is why you look at a guy at the top of the fourth round, and fair or not, Brittan Golden, it's a devalued position.
Yeah.
Justin Simmons was available through this summer, right? Great player. Like, Budda Baker is a great player. He's a Hall of Fame level player, in my opinion. He deserves to be in the Ring of Honor. I love number three. But, I mean, this is Jonathan Gannon's baby position. Played safety at Louisville. He took Reed Blankenship off the street into a Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is something to watch, to monitor. If Taylor Demerson elevates to the third safety for the Cardinals and plays a lot this year, just keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on this player, too. We are going SOS at pass rusher. We're freaking out because the Cardinals lose B.J. Ojulari, and by no means is this position group set, as you've got Cameron Thomas and I think Victor Dumakaji playing into the fourth quarter, which is egregious. But how about Xavier Thomas, our last member of Counting Cards today, racking up the only sack of the game? I mean, it's not a coincidence. The guy out of Clemson played a long time in the ACC, was a byproduct of the unfortunate COVID year, got sick, he put on weight, had to lose weight. A guy who has a lot of physical traits that lend itself well to pass rusher. He did not have a bunch of sacks at the collegiate level. But kudos to Monty Ossenford and Jonathan Gannon. Saw something in this kid where it's got the height, size, speed, weight combination. Maybe they can mold him in a rotational pass rusher. I'm not jumping to conclusions yet. But if you can get a Dante Stills-like rookie year from Xavier Thomas, that will help exponentially a pass rush group right now that is hurting for guys that can get home at outside linebacker, Brittan.
Oh, he looked good today. His get off line of scrimmage was very quick. He good with his hands. He got into the backfield. You know, he split that offensive line.
He did
a good few times. So I think for the first game again, yeah, he looked good. He came out there. It's what you want to see.
Yep.
It's what you need. Like you said, we've struggled the last year with the pass rush. We need pass rushes. We need outside backers that can get in that backfield and cause havoc. And I think you've got one of them. And it's going to take time. He's going to have to build. But I think down the line he can turn into something that can really help the team.
Yeah, I feel like, again, like we have seen what Jesse Luketa and Victor Dimukeje and now Cameron Thomas are. Like Dennis Gardeck and Zaven Collins are going to start for you. Like the Cardinals made it clear, like,
yes,
if B.J. Ojulari is healthy, I think Dennis Gardeck probably plays in this game. Dennis Gardeck now is being treated as a starter, rightfully so. He's earned that opportunity. He's stuck around in a contract year. Zaven Collins just extended. Now it's like, what does the rest of this position group look like 4 weeks from now? Like the Cardinals play the Buffalo Bills 4 weeks from tomorrow. Like what is that group the same group as it is now? Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe 2 or 3 guys are subtracted because, again, like I like Victor Dimukeje, the person. I think he could have a role, but it's obvious. Like you mentioned it, we were watching it live. Like he takes bad angles to the football.
Well, it's going to be, like you said, you got 2 weeks after preseason.
Yeah.
The room's going to change. It's not going to be the same outside linebacker group that we see right now when the season starts. There's going to be guys that are really good on other teams that get cut.
No doubt.
Because of, cap space and money problems and the business part of it that are going to be picked up in waivers. It's going to be a new group, but your starters right now is going to be Dennis Gardeck and you're going to have Zaven Collins. Those are who you've got on the outside starting the game right now. The depth chart down the line from that is going to change, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be guys like Jesse Luketa and Dimukeje. These guys, they're going to have to step their game. They're going to have to come out and prove to this coaching staff, to Monty Ossenfort, that, hey, we can be the role players, the backups that can come in and not miss a beat, because you need to have depth to where when you take off your starters, when your starters are going 4 or 5 plays in a row and they need a break, that when they come in the game, there is no drop-off.
Yeah.
Right? And that's going to be something that these guys are going to have to showcase in the next 2 weeks.
Mack Wilson, who did not play tonight, is the starter and inside backer next to Kazir White. He's going to get time on the edge. He's going to play some pass rusher. He wants to do it. He can do it. He did it for Bill Belichick in New England. And again, I would be hesitant to make Darius Robinson play off the edge. I think Darius Robinson needs to be left right where he is as a 3 or 5 technique on the defensive line, a violent player with his hands, has power for days. You mentioned Darius Robinson came into your gym. Brittan Golden got a gym, works out former, current NFL players here in downtown Phoenix. Shout out your gym real quick.
2 of my buddies on the gym, Wes Buzz and Justin Wakefield. It's called Apex Performance Study, but we had Darius in for a day or 2, and the guy's a giant.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, when he's playing inside, that long arm and like he's so strong off the ball and he can move. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him on the outside. And I'm not talking about it being the whole game, but you got to mix him up, because you can put him down inside and he can just wreak havoc on your guards and your center.
Yeah.
And then you can put him outside and he's just going to that long arm. He can set the edge. He's so strong. He's so big that long arm, I saw it at the gym. He did a drill and I was like, that's got to be the most devastating thing if that hits you in the chest, that he could set an edge right there and just funnel everything back inside. So, I mean, he's a generational talent.
He is. With his presence, and then you add Justin Jones, you've got pieces now. Is it a polished, finished product? It is not. I think they need one more offseason, free agency period, another draft class to get a true speed guy, a first-round like a Brian Burns, somebody that can come light and quick off the edge. But I think right now, like, you've got enough there to make it work most NFL Sundays. But again, like, if there's an opportunity, I still think there is, continue to work this free agency pool. I would still look at a Yannick Ngakoue. I would still explore what's going on with Hassan Reddick with the New York Jets. But I think the Cardinals have to be cautiously optimistic, because 2 players they invested in on the defensive line this draft, and Darius Robinson and Xavier Thomas, made the opposing offensive line sweat today. Whereas players that they inherited from Steve Keim, Victor Dimukeje, and Jesse Luketa and Cameron Thomas have not been able to show that consistently. So, again, a lot of interchangeable pieces, but if Taylor-Demerson, Darius Robinson, Xavier Thomas, Owen Papo, Starling Thomas, who we didn't even mention, all these guys that have Gannon and Rollis' fingerprints all over them. Like, this is the makeup of your Cardinal defense for the next 3 to 5 years plus. That's a good feeling.
It is a good feeling. I mean, we didn't mention Starlin Thomas. He had a really good first half.
He was excellent.
As well as Keitrail Clark played pretty well this, early in the game too.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got pieces, right? You've got young guys that are in the mix that can make plays and help you out down the road. And I mean, it's an exciting time.
It's an exciting time. We're going to welcome Bo Brack here momentarily. But first, let me tell you about an exciting deal with our friends at Game Time. Again, I hope you took advantage if you were in the greater Glendale area tonight. Use the bonus code PHNX for $20 off. But if you're thinking, hey, I want to go to Cardinals Rams week 2, I'm traveling on the road, I'm going to go see them hell in Buffalo week 1. If that's on your mind, how about this? PHNX bonus code, 20% off your first purchase with our friends at Game Time. $1 is going to get you in the door today. There were $1 parking passes on Game Time. They've got flash deals. And again, it goes beyond just football, ladies and gentlemen. They've got concerts, entertainment, comedy shows, and more. It's the premier ticketing app and the only one this podcast host uses. And again, if you're thinking about traveling on the road, if you want to watch games at State Farm Stadium, I had a lot of people tell me, Johnny, I'm going to wait to renew my season tickets until this team shows me they can become a winner. Do Game Time instead. Every single Friday, Saturday, it's for procrastinators. They've got deals up until like kickoff and or after kickoff where you can get in at halftime for half or even up to 60% off with our friends at Game Time. Do yourself a favor. Download the Game Time app today. Use the bonus code PHNX. $20 instantly. It might damn near cover your entire purchase, up to 60% off. Zone deals, seat views. It's got a great view of everywhere, whether it's your ballpark, your stadium, your concert venue. Some of these ticketing apps, on top of charging egregious fees, they don't have a great view of what you're actually paying for. And with Game Time, you get a clear-cut picture. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute ticket, lowest price guaranteed. Speaking of saving money and hitting big, Damon's going to tell us about our friends at Bet365, one of our newest partners. And again, I know a lot of people were dabbling on that Cards money line tonight, Damon. So again, the line was 1.5. The Saints were favored. So depending on where you were at with the over/under, could have been a rough night with our friends at Bet365 if you were on the Cardinals.
Absolutely. And we had our friend Coach Stark actually bet on the Cardinals tonight.
He did.
He was damn close to getting a win here. Yep. But hopefully he used that wonderful offer with our friends at Bet365, where if you sign up and you put in PHNX365 as your code, you can deposit a minimum of $10 and you have the insurance on it if it loses. So
boom,
you can get that money back. Like I said, hopefully Coach Stark used that today. Bet365, they're the pioneers of live in-game betting. I know when we partnered with them, me and Shane, the real sicko degenerates of this company, were pretty excited about it because Bet365 is well known to have the best lines in all of sports gambling.
No doubt.
So we're really happy to have Bet365 as a partner. 90 million users worldwide, over 780,000 events each year, early payout options. And like I said, they pioneered that live in-game betting. So open that account. Start right at the start of the NFL season. It's not a better time to get in on gambling, Johnny. This is by far the best time to start with your sports betting. And if you haven't used that offer yet, or you haven't signed up with Bet365, make sure you use our code when you do so. So download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in AZ. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants to help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit www.problemgambling.az.org.
It's a safe bet.
.gov, sorry, /.
Yeah, it's a safe bet. This show is going to be upgraded here with the addition of my fine co-host, Mr. Bo Brack, live from State Farm Stadium, following the Arizona Cardinals' 16-14 loss at the hands of the New Orleans Saints. Bo, we haven't had a chance to speak with you yet. What was the reaction from head coach Jonathan Gannon following the Cardinals' dropping of their preseason opener?
Yeah, I don't think he was too concerned with the result of it, but I think he saw enough within the first half when his backups were basically going up against the starters of the New Orleans Saints, especially on the defensive side of the football. I think he liked what he saw. And then, of course, the play from Clayton Tune and the fight from the team to the bitter end. giving up the walk-off field goal from the Saints, or near walk-off field goal from the Saints. But I think he's encouraged. I think he saw enough, especially on that defensive side of the football, to move forward. And once he gets his starters inserted in the lineup, whenever that may be, I think he's got a lot of confidence in the group going after that.
Speaking of starters, I mean, Brittan, you tell Bo how you feel about old MHJ having to be trotted out here. A charade, if you would. This man on the screen, I'm not going to throw shade, but defended the idea of Marvin playing this week. And now you see a byproduct, Brittan, of the starters not playing. I mean, do you think Marvin should play again this preseason?
I don't see the point of having him out there without Kyler. I just don't think it's beneficial. I mean, if Tune can, honestly, if Tune started this game the way he threw the ball, I think there could have been a little bit of difference, maybe getting him the ball early in the game. But I just felt like the way that first drive went, having him in the game, I was like, you just wasted his time today. There was no point for him to go in that game.
It was strange, right? I mean, officially like one route run. And, we talked to Gannon about it. What was the emphasis, the focus for Marvin Harrison Jr. suiting up today? And JG said it's based on his routine. Get him into the routine of preparing, getting his drive into the stadium down. But all that could have been done, like I hear your point, could have been done without him, taking the field. And he basically did. He played 1 3-and-out series. Coming to the defense of Desmond Ridder, like the missed pass to Bachelia on the 4th down should have been a sure touchdown. I agree that deserves some criticism, but what he was playing with as far as the offensive line. I mean, and Gannon called it leaky, which I thought was putting it nicely. But you had Wilkinson playing tackle, had no business there, and then the 3rd rounder out of Illinois was struggling mightily throughout the game. Isaiah Adams, it was a tough day for Ridder, no doubt about it. And Clayton Tune was able to take advantage of that and really kind of turn the heat up on this quarterback 2 battle.
Do you feel like there's a door open? Because I was putting dirt on Clayton Tune earlier this week. I thought Desmond Ridder at least showed enough as a game manager in camp, and then he had this kind of performance. Do you think there's a reality in which Clayton Tune could maybe start the game next week against the Colts if he has a solid practice in joint competition against Indianapolis?
No, I think that the door is ajar. It's been ajar, and like we had said, like outside of just resume, I don't think that Ridder has kind of separated himself in this battle. And when you watch tonight, and I know you can make the case about who was playing who there. Ritter's going with a leaky offensive line against a lot of starters for the New Orleans Saints, and Tune's probably in there, but some backups and guys who might not make rosters. But who's moving the football? Who was out there and making throws in this game? And, I don't think anybody can argue. I mean, Clayton Tune looked like operationally he was sound, and he looked like, just when the ball was snapped, he was making some good throws to his receivers.
Speaking of making plays, Michael Carter Jr., our player of the game, Bo Brack, and maybe he's taking advantage of DeMercado not playing. I really don't get two shits about that. I feel like it would be football GM malpractice to make this kid available for opposing teams to scoop up. Almost 6 yards per clip after averaging over that last year with the Arizona Cardinals, looked explosive in the open field. And I'm not going to sit here and bang on Trey Benson because of what he had to work with. You just mentioned maybe Desmond Ridder being a victim of his offensive line. I think very much Trey Benson was. But you can't deny, Bo Brack, and I hope Jonathan Gannon spoke about it. Michael Carter Jr., when he plays, the Cardinals are much more functional offensively. We saw it last year, and then we saw it in this game, in the open field making cuts, his decisiveness, right? His ability in the screen game. He just does so much for this team. I would be very, very concerned about their long-term efforts at the position if they for whatever reason, thought about releasing this guy.
Yeah, you just see the guy, whether it's in the preseason or the regular season, he just makes plays. I think that he's just a good football player who's productive. And, when you start to kind of create, what the criteria is or the pros and cons of how to make these tough decisions, I think at the end of the day, you have to look to the guy who's had the most production in this league versus somebody who might fit a role better for you. And I don't know. I mean, like, it's unfortunate that Dermacado couldn't go today. He's dealing with something. And then you've got the log jam, or the numbers crunch, where you've got DJ Dallas also, who's a part of this, who's big in the return game. But I think what Michael Carter brings to this offense, as a change of pace guy, I think that's pretty valuable for this team. Like, we've seen it multiple times, guys. We were watching games last year together as a group, and we would see this team come out a little bit flat offensively, and then Michael Carter would make a big run, have an explosive run, or break a tackle on third down and be able to move the chains. And I think that there's you can't quantify that and show, hey, he checks all the boxes as far as what he does in pass pro, or he can play this position on teams. I just think that he's just a good, change of pace guy that complements James Conner or Trey Benson very well. And I just think that I would prioritize that over, maybe somebody that can be versatile for you and is good in pass protection.
Brittan, we talked about it during the game, and I brought this up ahead of time. Like, I wonder, and I'm not knocking the guy. DJ Dallas averaged 30 yards a return on punt return, 6.7 yards per return. I mean, like, DJ Dallas doesn't give you a lot offensively, and he needs to be undeniable as a returner. And the Cardinals gave him a multi-year deal. Like, is there a world in which they regret doing that?
I mean, just looking at the deal that he signed, DJ Dallas he's gonna be here for the season. I mean, he'll probably be your returner. I mean, like we said earlier, he had a lot of success in Seattle as a returner, and he could do it. I mean, he's gonna start this season as the return guy. It'll probably be mostly special teams when you really look at it, especially when you're looking at this depth chart right now. We've talked about Carter already. We talked about Trey Benson. Trey Benson's here.
Yeah.
You picked him up early in this draft where he's making this team. You're not getting rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
And Carter's just shown that you've got to put him in the game because he's going to help you win games. So, I mean, DJ Dallas might get a few plays offensively, but I mean, unless something detrimental happens to the other three, like, I don't see him being a major factor on offense, but he's going to be on special teams. You're going to keep him. You paid him too much money to just eat. I mean, you'd have to eat almost $4 million getting rid of him, and I don't think you're going to do that upstairs. So he will start it on special teams, and obviously you just want to hope that he can come in and make that impact that he had in Seattle in the return game.
Bo, what do you make of this situation?
Brittan, when you're looking at these tough roster decisions, like, we obviously know James Conner, as you outlined, like, he's RB1, right? There's no questions there. There's no questions about Benson from where he was drafted, and then the contract that DJ Dallas received this offseason. So it's like, okay, they're not going to carry 5. And then you've got, a battle for the 4th spot between 2 players. And it's like Michael Carter has his role, and then Amari Dermacado has his role. Like, from your experience, like, how do coaching staffs, how do front offices, like, come together and really make those decisions? What are the things that they're basing these cuts off of?
Really, at the end of the day, it's going to be the more you can do, right? I was in this position my entire career, right? I was the 5th wide receiver every single year. Right. And I returned, I played on kickoff, I played on punt. I mean, at that point, it's what can you do for me outside of your normal position? And I think at the end of the day, DJ Dallas brings that because he plays special teams, right? He is your number 1 returner. He can play on all the special teams and go out. So, I mean, barring anything crazy, I think at the end of the day, DJ Dallas is going to be here. 1, because of the contract that you paid him, but 2, just the more he can play the special teams part. So at the end of the day, they're going to look upstairs and say, how can he help me outside of his natural position, right? He's the 4th running back on the roster right now, but he's going to return for me. He's going to play on all the special teams. He can make an impact on the special teams. That's who we're going to keep. And, it's not ideal, especially when you've been in that position where you were the guy. Like, I mean, I left West Texas A&M, and I was like, I'm going to go to the NFL and be an actual receiver. And I had a 1-game stats for some of these star wide receivers in my entire career at receiver. Yeah. But, I found a way to play special teams. I was never good at special teams. Hell, I wasn't great at special teams in the NFL, but I found a way to just stick around, and that's what you got to do. You just got to make yourself available and show that you can play different positions and help this team out in any way possible.
Well, you're being humble. You were very good on special teams, and you were part of the last great. You were on the last great Cardinal team, 2015 NFC champion participants, NFC West champions. But let me flip the script here. We talked about the running back group. Let's talk about the defensive side, specifically this rookie class, because I thought they shined. A couple guys from last year's rookie class, Owen Papo in particular. Let me start with this, Bo. Is it hyperbole to say that Darius Robinson was the best player on the field either side of the ball for the Cardinals tonight?
That's saying, yeah, no, but I mean, who Darius was going up against, he played every single snap of that opening series, and that was the starting offense for the New Orleans Saints. Now, are they middle of the pack? Are they towards the back end of the NFL offense? It's probably the case, but yeah, he looked really good. Gannon was encouraged by his performance. We have his soundbite about Darius's performance tonight on Twitter. I thought that he looked solid. I mean, I heard you guys talking about Darius a little bit, D-Rob, before I jumped on, and I agree with it. Just that he was working out there at BG's gym, and just that's got to be a sight to see just in itself. But to see it also play out, him just moving people on the offensive line is fantastic. And then, on the opposite end of the draft class, I thought XT, Xavier Thomas, looked really fast and already started to kind of carve a rollout for himself on third down as kind of pin your ears back pass rusher.
Yeah, you mentioned him. I mean, Taylor-Demerson, I know he had maybe the miscue at the end of the half in the open field, and that just comes with time. But Taylor-Demerson was a guy that here in the studio, jumping off the television, jumping off the screen, making plays in the backfield, right? Having an ability to close in the open field. And we are grossly, irresponsibly speculating if he has enough time on the field, if he can cook a little bit this year as safety number 3, you can see a path, especially with the tutelage from Jonathan Gannon, who's a safety DB savant. Taylor-Demerson has a chance to unseat Budda Baker, not based off of play necessarily, but contract, age. Like, you can see how he could be viewed as the potential heir apparent. I know we got a long way to go, and Budda Baker is going to have a phenomenal year, but he's also knocking on the door. He's 30 years old. He's making $19 million this year. I just love the trajectory now of all of these. Let's exclude Darius because he's a special kind of talent. The Papos, the Dante Stills, the Xavier Thomases, right? The Starling Thomas, who was fantastic. The Taylor-Demersons. We are seeing now the infrastructure of this Rallis Gannon defense with just kind of peppered throughout kind of your island of misfit toys that they can operate. And Derek Carr did not look comfortable to start this game, by the way.
Yeah, no, he didn't. No, you're seeing kind of the floor raise as far as just the talent level here. You're seeing more tackles, at the front end of your defense instead of the back end of your defense, it's great. You're not getting gashed and having to get a running back, a ball carrier on first or second down before the sticks or beyond the sticks, right? You're getting them up front. You saw a guy like Dante Stills when he took over with on the second defensive series start to rack up some tackles. And, Dante Stills, I think, is poised to continue to have a role in this defensive line group. And it's a much improved group, including Darius Robinson and Justin Jones, who didn't play tonight, or Bilal Nichols, the veterans who signed big free agent deals. But yeah, to also have just talent on every level and depth on every level is in how they've accumulated already in the short time in the new organization. It's just great for this team. It's guys that can do things, they can do multiple things, and they're sound fundamentally for the most part, to where they're not going to be getting flagged up, a ton, and they're not going to be, a liability like some of these other guys where it's just like, well, let's just see. He's athletically talented, but is he a good football player? These guys are all good football players. And I think that's, kind of what differentiates the new Cardinal with the previous regime's Cardinal.
Yeah, it certainly looks like outside of Marv, the defensive players in this draft class maybe are ahead of schedule. And I want to talk to Bo and Brittan about maybe, is it time to raise the red flag a little bit, specifically on a group of third-round picks for the Arizona Cardinals and how they performed tonight. But first, I want to tell you about our friends at Circle K. America's Thirst Stop. Join their free new membership program. I was at Circle K earlier today. I know you were there. I know Damon was there. Collectively, we're all individually at our Circle Ks using our superpowers, a.k.a. the Inner Circle. New free membership program. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day after the fact. And, it reached triple digits again here in the desert, which was vital for me to get hydrated with my friends at Circle K. 79-cent Polar Pop or Froster at any Arizona location now through September 3rd. You got almost just under a month to take advantage of this deal, which, by the way, has been running all summer long. All you got to do, download the app on our Inner Circle, hit that tab Offers. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply. At participating locations, visit CircleK.com. Damon, for more details. I'm high on Circle K, Damon. I'm high on Rugged Road.
Wee-oo. New sponsor alert. Yeah, we got Rugged Road in the picture here, and we're really excited to have Rugged Road because who doesn't love a good cooler? I mean, like I'm the type of guy where I go to a place and I'm looking at the coolers just for fun.
Yeah.
I want to see all the gizmits and gadgets that they have on it, and this one is perfect for any type of situation. You can throw it out on the river. You go Salt River tubing. You can bring it with you. You're out in Yuma fishing, maybe on the Colorado River.
Beautiful.
With Bo and his in-laws.
Gorgeous.
Rugged Road cooler. Bring it to the spot. It's the best place to get a new cooler, and if you use code PHNX, you can get 10% off that special new cooler. So. There's nothing more durable and dependent than a Rugged Road cooler. Get ready for your summer adventures with Rugged Road coolers. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com / and use code PHNX for 10% off your order. Lightweight, durable, always floating upright, perfect on the land or in the water. So leave that old heavy cooler at home and get yourself a better cooler for the new season. Rugged Road, your ultimate outdoor companion.
Yeah, you can always count on Rugged Road. You can always count on me to throw just a little bit of shade at a certain third-round tight end. We're ingratiating Brittan Golden, by the way, on our relationship, my relationship with third-round pick Tip Reiman, as we transition here to talk about some of these third-round picks, Brittan Golden. Big number 87. Can we just say at this point he's a glorified offensive lineman in this offense right now?
I mean, I didn't know he was 270 pounds.
He's a big boy.
I mean, he was a blocking tight end in college, am I right?
Yes, he was. I think he had about 200 yards last year for the Fighting Illini.
I mean, it is week 1.
Yeah.
All right. So
long way to go.
Yeah, we still got time. But I mean, you need one. You've got to have a blocking tight end in the game. You've got to have somebody that that can step up and handle the pressure on the outside. And against the shade you want to throw, he went up against Chase Young tonight, and he had a one-on-one battle with him on the line of scrimmage, and he held his own. Now, did he have some other suspect things going on the line? Yes, but, I mean, that's expected. It's week 1. Everybody makes mistakes in week 1. We're not looking for perfection right now, but I can't sit here and throw the same amount of shade as you because I haven't looked.
Nobody could, Britt. Nobody could.
Nobody can throw as much shade as Johnny can throw. Johnny is a big shade thrower for somebody that eats.
I was sweating, Bo, at the end of the. How dare you? At the end of the first half, I looked at Brittan and Damon. I'm like, when they're in the red zone, I'm like, what if Tip catches a touchdown here? Am I even going to be able to go on the halftime show?
You would have had to sit out and let me do it by myself.
Desmond Ridder's rag arm bailed me out. But in all seriousness, Bo, I feel like Tip Reiman did exactly what the Cardinals said he was going to do. He was going to be the Jeff Swaim of this offense. And that there's a role for that. But again, if we're talking about like who I think has a higher trajectory now for this team, like Rabbit and Xavier Thomas out there making plays, and Tip Reiman's a little bit of a project in my opinion, as is Isaiah Adams. The two kids from Illinois look like two kids from Illinois tonight.
Well, and let's throw Elijah Jones in there. I mean, I think Elijah Jones had a tough day too. The corner out of Boston College at the end of the half, it was his guy that got behind the defense that set the big 58-yard pass play, and then you had a 34-yard pass interference call on Jones. It was a little suspect by the officials. It looked like maybe he was getting some hands to the face there from the wide receiver. But, as far as the third round goes, you look at the numbers across the board, there's nothing that you say, oh, okay, that's encouraging, from Trey Benson to Jones to Adams to Tip Reiman. So, that's a round that, we're going to have to just wait and see on right now. But, Tip Reiman he was a role that they wanted to fill. And at 82nd overall, they saw Reiman on the board and they wanted a blocking tight end. So they took who was, the consensus top blocking tight end in the draft. And, it's not for everybody. Like, Johnny has one pair of Jordans because he's going to wear it with everything. But, if you want, some Jordans that are going to go with, certain clothes combinations, you got to get some different color J's. And, I tip Reiman is a different color J that is a little bit more specific. And, Johnny just isn't about that. I got one pair of shoes.
Johnny will be a fan by the end of the season.
I don't dislike the player and the person. I always have questioned the value of Tip Reiman as a top 90 pick. And I think it was on display tonight when, what's the fourth tight end's name, Bo Brock? Remind me who dropped a pass in this game.
Say that again.
Who's the fourth tight end for the Arizona Cardinals? Whitehart. When Whitehart's getting targets in the passing game and my third round tight end, who was a top 90 pick, is not getting targets, I'm going to put up a red flag a little bit and say,
it's early, Johnny.
I know it's early.
You had a whole tip about Dennis Gardeck last year that you didn't like either at the beginning. And the man came out there and almost led the team in sacks. So I don't want to hear it.
Well, listen, now he's a starter. He's backed himself into a starting role.
Starter on the outside. So, hey, you might be sitting here and be captain of the Tip fan club next year.
Somebody in the chat, and I'll give immense credit to whomever this was. I apologize. I missed the name. But the Buffalo Bills could not stop a nosebleed defensively on the ground against the Chicago Bears today. And again, like, they were very susceptible to the run last year against KC in the divisional round. 12 and 13 personnel against the Buffalo Bills is on the menu for Drew Petzing in this offense with James Conner. So I have no doubt that Tip Reiman's going to have a role and he's going to play a lot. I would like to see him in these preseason games where Higgy Bear's not playing and Trey McBride. Like, let's feature Tip Reiman. If he's such a great athlete, if he can catch the football. I mean, we had his OC come on this show and say, like, we might have held him back a little bit based on his quarterback play. Let's get him out in space. So why is Whitehair getting targets in the passing game and not Tip Reiman? But again, I'll put that off to the side. And
Tip's 270.
Well, so he can't catch balls? He can't run routes?
But, I mean,
let's make him a tackle.
He's not running away from anybody.
I'm at the point with Elijah Wilkinson. Let's just put Tip Reiman at tackle over Elijah Wilkinson and how he was abused today. Not a good day for Wilkinson. I don't want to ever see that man play tackle again. But I do want to pivot to Isaiah Adams, who I think a lot of us foolishly said maybe he's an outside chance to start for this team. 74's got a ways to go for the Arizona Cardinals. And again, that's not a knock on him. He's a mid-rounder out of the Big Ten for an Illinois team that won 5 or 6 games last year. But what'd you see out of 74 for AZ at guard tonight?
Yeah, definitely an uneven game. He had the one play where he was a legal man downfield. That was tough on that drive.
Yeah, and
then obviously some defenders had an easy way around him. It was not great. But here's a guy that was a hockey player in high school, goes and plays at JUCO, then makes his way to Illinois, and is playing out of position from the coaching staff. Is playing tackle, and now he's got where they feel like he fits better inside, learn at the NFL level, and that's not going to always be pretty. So, I think they have the luxury with the move of bringing on Brown and the better, I guess, John Gaines coming back from his ACL tear. They have a couple guys that they don't have to rely on Isaiah Adams immediately to step up and play guard. But game one, it is what it is. But he's got a long way to go, and I think that they're willing, obviously, to move forward. And he's a third round pick, and they're gonna put some work in with him. I mean, you can see like what they like. I mean, the size and the strength.
Yeah,
it's just the other stuff that the coaches, I think, are pretty confident they can get him to where he needs to be when the time eventually does come. Maybe next season or the season after that.
Yeah, you're welcome to the NFL. And Brittan, you can attest to this. Like, some guys are Paris Johnson Jr., Darius Robinson, Michael Wilson, where it just translates immediately and they have really standout camps and they're ready to contribute. And then other guys, I mean, like you were around when DJ Humphries was drafted, was not a playable player, couldn't be active on game days because of how raw of a player he was. And then, oh, by the way, he had a 10-year career with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't know if DJ was active at all his rookie year. I mean, there might have been a game or two where he was active, but for the most part, he was inactive pretty much the whole year his rookie year, but then stepped in year 2 and was like, okay, yeah, he belongs on the field. I mean, and he had a hell of a career out here in Arizona. So, I mean, like you said, there's guys that come in and make an immediate impact. You've got guys that come in and it's like, bam, he's ready for this. He's going to go out there. He's going to have immediate success. And there's guys that it's going to take them a season. It's going to take them a little bit of time getting in the mix, feeling it out, learning how to play at this level. I mean, college football to the NFL is 2 different games. It's 2 different games. That's why we see so many quarterbacks that play college football that throw for 400 yards a game, but then show up in the NFL. And it's not, you can't it's not the same. It doesn't relate the same. Same way in all the other positions. We've seen guys that just go out and have immaculate college careers that show up in the NFL and it doesn't translate. So, like I said, some guys are going to come in and immediately know what to do, immediately just make that crazy impact. And then there's going to be guys it's going to take them a little bit.
I want to get everybody's opinion on, moving ahead to week 2 and what that could look like. But we do have a super chat. Illa Dre, friend of the program, dropping a super chat, highlighting the play of another defensive back. Illa Dre 199 saying CB Hall was everywhere. I thought the DBs were great. I thought they were a victim of some bad calls. But for the most part, like you can tell that position group, even without Max Melton and Garrett Williams, Max Melton did come back from injury late in practice this week. So you would assume they were going to hold him out. And Garrett Williams is said not to have a serious injury. Like that position group, night and day better than it was last year. A lot of promise there. So absolutely. Thank you for that super chat, Illa Dre. But Bo, I want to pose this question to you because you and Damon are on the road, road dogs, as early as this Tuesday, heading to Indy, watching this team. What are you keeping an eye on after this first preseason game for the Arizona Cardinals?
Whether or not Damon finishes his steak. I think that's huge in Indianapolis.
I think Damon can finish his steak.
Let's cut the feed already. Get this guy out of here.
But no, I think that this is a pivotal joint practice week for the Cardinals on Wednesday and Thursday. I mean, that's really where you're going to see the starting offense kind of get its, dress rehearsal before the start of the regular season. Like we're not going to see Kyler Murray the entire preseason. I think that's where we're going to see him go up against a starting defense and how it's really, the closest thing it's going to look like, come early September in Buffalo at Orchard Park. So, what to look for, like how the rookies kind of bounce back, adjust after their first outing. We talked about those 3rd round picks. And what the backup quarterback battle, does it evolve into a true, throw down, drag out, all out brawl until the final whistle blows in the 3rd preseason game. So, those are a couple of things that we're just looking forward to, throughout this week of practice and beyond.
Prediction time. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. Playing next Saturday against Indy, in your opinion? After what you've seen now, and he's going to have
kind of a homecoming, right? Kind of a homecoming.
A little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play the rest of the preseason. Just for the fact of you're not going to see Kyler Murray this preseason. It's already been said, and they came out earlier and said Kyler Murray's not playing. So you might. I'm not going to say no, but would I at this point? No. I mean, I think with the joint practice, you're going to get Kyler's going to practice.
Yeah.
Right. And you're going to see a lot of what you want to see in practice this week. He's going to go against the ones in Indy. He's going to do it. I think that's where you'll see most of Marv as well. So I think your starters get pretty much most of their work done and out of the way at joint practice this week. And it'll still be another way of you're going to see most of your backups and 2s and 3s during the game. There might be a few more starters that play this week in the game, but for the most part, I think your number ones are. I don't think you put them out there. I just
let me ask you this: as a former NFL receiver, is there a possibility? And some have floated this idea: are the Cardinals saving Marv and any exposure to opposing teams for Week 1 at Buffalo? Like they're going to unleash MHJ on the Buffalo Bills. Is there a possibility they could be doing that?
I don't see that. I mean, everybody knows. Everybody knows who Marv was at Ohio State. Right, he can't hide. You can't hide the talent. You can't hide what he can do on the field. Right, it's like the same when AJ Brown and all those guys came out. Right, when they all showed up, it was not like we're hiding these guys. Right, we're gonna put them in, and we're not, so they don't see it. And we're gonna Week 1, they're just gonna come. No, these guys are generational talents, and you know it. So I mean, the thing with Marv right now, do you play him? In my opinion, no. I think you let him get all of his work with Kyler in joint practice. Get it all the way. They're going to see live bullets, right? You're not going to get tackled to the ground. But, I mean, playing wide receiver, there's not a lot of times you're just getting tackled to the ground unless you're running across the middle in situations like that. I mean, you're not getting your head taken off anymore because you got to pay $20,000 if you do that on the other side of the ball. So, I mean, like I said, I think the joint practice is where you'll see a lot of MHJ and Kyler this week, and probably are they joint practicing Week 3 too, or is it?
No, I think it's they're
okay. Well, you'll see. I don't think you see the starters. Crazy.
One player you did see today, local product. This is from Lorenzo, $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Lorenzo, for supporting the program on that level. Roy Lopez,
damn right,
favorite of Damon Dog, was a monster on the field. We watched him. He had a nice TFL behind the line of scrimmage. Well. I mean, both the D tackle room, we bang on the edge rushers. I mainly do that. The D tackle room's night and day better than last year, is it not?
No, it's way better. It's so much better. I mean, I think that they could go comfortably like 6, 7 deep to where last year was like you could probably find 1 or 2 guys. So, tip of the cap to the organization for upgrading that. But yeah, BG, any stories from joint practices back in the day? You played what? You joint practice with the Chargers? Who else?
See, I didn't go. I had a hamstring, so I didn't get to make that trip. But I did do the intern coaching thing with the Buccaneers a couple years ago, and we joint practiced with the Dolphins and with the Titans. So, listen, I am not a fan of joint practice. I think it's stupid. All you're doing is you're going against guys that you don't see every day. So now you're taking out your frustrations that you've seen all week. It's a giant fight. That's all you're going out there to do is fight anyway. And you see it every week. And for a league that tries to stress player safety so heavily, right? You're finding guys for making these crazy hits. You're finding guys for others. Like, stop the joint practice bullshit. Because now you're just finding organizations. Like they found the Giants and the Lions got fined $200K. Okay, whoop-de-doo. Right? You could have lost. Daniel Jones was involved in one of those fights.
And that was hilarious.
$40 million a year is involved in one of those fights. Your first round pick wide receiver is punching helmets. Hey, what are we doing? Like, this is something you want to stress player safety. Cut that dumb shit out. That's dumb.
Well,
like, it's pointless because there's going to be a fight. In the history of joint practice, you cannot find me a team that is joint practice since they started doing it that a fight hasn't broken out.
You would hope because Gannon and Steichen, the Colts coach, were together in Philly. There's a mutual respect. Like they'll keep it clean. But yeah, they're gonna have to watch that. Get chippy. The Cardinals had a couple internal fights this week, although Gannon doesn't promote that stuff. So hopefully it gets nipped in the bud this week, and you show a little bit of class, Indianapolis. And speaking of showing some class, shop the number 18 collection right now at GoPHNX.com. I'm showing all the class, repping the Maserati Marv tee, which you can get right now exclusively at the PHNXLocker.com. Shop the number 18 collection. Get the MHJ t-shirt. Get the math shirt right. Eventually, that's going to be on display. 1 + 18 = 6. And then, of course, one of the greatest shirts we've ever done, the MHJ t-shirt, front and center there, the all black, the number 18 collection. You can't buy a number 18 jersey at the team store online yet, but you can sure as hell shop the number 18 collection. And in the meantime, become a diehard. GoPHNX.com. Pick up one of these shirts for free every single year. You are a diehard. Of course, keep it tapped in to gophnx.com. Read the work of Craig Morgan, who's at the stadium right now cranking out an article. Surely he's going to be up in the next 12 hours. You will not get that kind of content anywhere else. Again, become a diehard. Join the exclusive PHNX Cardinals member Discord, insights, practice highlights from my co-host, Brack. So much good stuff. And in the meantime, become a subscriber here on YouTube. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, iTunes, Spotify. Brack, any final thoughts as we leave you from Glendale as the Arizona Cardinals drop preseason game 1 to the Saints?
Thought the second half, it was way easier to watch than the first half. That was a tough one. I think for all sides, we almost had 8 straight punts before the Arizona Cardinals went for it on 4th down. So looking forward to watching a little bit better football. But once preseason gets here and you watch the first action, you just can't wait for the regular season to get here. It can't get here soon enough. But excited to be back on with you boys. BG, great to have you back in the fold. And can't wait to hit the road with Damon again this week. We're going to have great coverage. Make sure you become a diehard today. You'll get that. That's right. You get that entrance to the exclusive member Discord. We're going to be dropping all sorts of practice nuggets from our road trip in Indy. Plus, the exploits going on behind the scenes. And we all know they can get a little crazy. So make sure you're a diehard. But yeah, other than that, good to go, man. Week 2 of the preseason nearly upon us.
Have great memories of spending Indy with all 4 of these fine gentlemen. Keep those vibes going. We're going to keep these vibes going all preseason, all season, and hopefully postseason long. Brittan, great to have you back, my guy.
Good to be back.
Damon Dog, tremendous job producing 2 shows in a short period of time, both on the fly. And of course, my dear friend, Brack, even though he throws me shade every time he comes on, he's live from Glendale. I'm Johnny Venerable. Thank you to everybody dropping in super chats, dropping in likes. Hit that like as we hold the line. It was a quiet debut for Marvin Harrison Jr., but it was a debut nonetheless as a member of the Arizona Cardinals. This is your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast, PHNX Cardinals. We are back on a football Monday with coverage from Indianapolis. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.